The sky above Earth was calm. It was a normal day. People were walking in cities, children were laughing, and workers were busy in their daily lives. But far beyond the blue sky something was moving, silent, huge, unstoppable. An armada of alien warships was crossing into the solar system. They were not explorers. They were not friends. They had come to conquer. The first sign came from the deep space telescopes. A group of scientists in a cold observatory stared at their screens in shock. Dozens of massive ships appeared on the edge of the system. Their shapes were strange, black against the stars like shadows that swallowed the light. The scientists sent urgent messages to world governments. At first, leaders did not believe. Many thought it was a mistake or maybe a trick. But then the ships grew closer, and doubt died. On the 8th day, the alien message arrived. Every screen on Earth, every phone, every television, every satellite signal was suddenly taken over. A face appeared, not human, not even close. Its skin was gray and rough, its eyes glowing like burning coals. The voice was cold, deep, and carried the weight of arrogance. "Humans," the creature said, "you are weak. You are divided. Your weapons are old and useless. This galaxy belongs to the strong. Submit to us or burn." The message was repeated again and again in every language, across every land. Panic spread across the planet. Some screamed in fear, others prayed, and a few shouted with anger. Governments called emergency meetings. The United Nations gathered in silence, the room filled with the weight of history. Humanity had always dreamed about aliens. Some imagined peace, some imagined trade. But this was no dream. This was a nightmare. For the first time, humanity knew its true place. The aliens gave them a choice, kneel or die. And they gave a deadline, 10 days. 10 days before the invasion, military leaders warned that Earth's defense was weak. Human warships, though advanced by human standards, were nothing compared to the massive dreadnoughts hanging in space. Cities could be destroyed in seconds. Some leaders whispered surrender. Some argued for survival through diplomacy. But the answer did not come from them. It came from the people. Across the planet, ordinary humans stood up. Farmers, workers, students, soldiers, mothers and fathers. The fear was there, yes, but something else burned brighter. Pride, anger, the memory of history. Humanity had always faced impossible odds. Empires had tried to crush them before. Tyrants had tried to rule them before. And every time, humanity had fought back. In small towns and giant cities, people gathered around screens and radios. The alien face repeated its cold demand, "Submit or burn." At first there was silence. Then slowly voices rose. A whisper at first, then louder still, until the whisper became a shout that echoed across the planet. "We fight." The words spread like fire. Soldiers stood taller. Scientists worked faster. Engineers dug into old projects, desperate to find a miracle. Nations that hated each other for centuries now shook hands. Enemies became allies. Rivals became brothers. The threat from the stars had done what no human leader ever could. It had united Earth. But still doubt lingered. The alien fleet was massive. Their weapons unknown. Their power unmatched. What chance did humanity truly have? In the darkness of night, leaders gathered in secret bunkers. Maps of space glowed on digital walls. Plans were drawn. But behind those plans was something even more secret. A project hidden deep under mountains. A project built not for exploration, not for peace, but for survival. The project had a name spoken only in whispers, Project Firestorm. For now the world did not know. The people only knew this. The aliens had challenged them. The clock was ticking. And when the 10th day came, humanity would answer. The stars above Earth were no longer silent. They were waiting, watching, waiting for the fire to rise. Beneath the mountains, far away from the noise of cities and the eyes of the public, heavy steel doors opened. Inside was a place almost no one knew existed. A base carved deep into the earth, filled with the hum of machines and the silence of secrets. This was not new. It had been here for decades. But what was inside had never been revealed to the world. It was called Project Firestorm. The story of Firestorm began years ago, when the first whispers of alien life reached the ears of scientists. A small group of visionaries had asked a simple question. What if they are not friendly? While politicians laughed and others dreamed of peace, these scientists built in silence. Their work was hidden under layers of secrecy, buried deeper than gold mines, locked tighter than nuclear vaults. And now, in humanity's darkest hour, their creation was ready to be revealed. The leaders of the world stood inside a great underground hall. Before them, resting in shadows, was something massive. A weapon unlike any seen before. It was not just a missile, not just a ship, not just a bomb. It was something new, something dangerous. A machine that could burn through the strongest armor in the galaxy. It had one purpose: to answer fire with fire. The chief engineer, an old man with tired eyes, stood before the leaders. His voice shook, but his words carried steel. This is our last chance. We call it Firestorm. It is powerful, but it is not perfect. It has never been tested in real battle. If it fails, humanity fails. But if it works... He paused, letting the silence weigh heavy in the room. If it works, we will show the galaxy what humans are made of. Around him, generals and presidents exchanged looks. They knew the risks. The weapon could kill them all as easily as it could save them. But there was no choice. The alien fleet was moving closer every hour. Time was running out. Soldiers and engineers began their work. The halls of Firestorm came alive with noise. Sparks flew from welding torches. Giant cranes lifted heavy parts into place. Computers glowed with endless data. Teams of scientists argued, tested, failed, and tried again. There was no rest. Day and night blended together. Humanity was racing against the clock. Above ground, the world was changing too. Civilians volunteered in massive numbers. Factories that once built cars and planes now built weapons and shields. Farmers sent their harvests to feed soldiers. Children wrote messages of hope on banners. We fight. The spirit of humanity was alive, burning brighter than fear. But still, the aliens were watching. Their ships hovered on the edge of the solar system, black giants against the stars. They sent no further messages. They simply waited, as if amused by humanity's struggle. To them, humans were ants building castles of sand. They believed Firestorm, whatever it was, would crumble before their power. Inside the base, the pressure grew. The weapon was close to ready, but one problem haunted the scientists. Firestorm burned too hot. Its energy could not be controlled for long. If pushed too far, it could destroy itself and everything around it. It was a weapon of great power, but also great danger. One young engineer asked his commander, "What if it explodes before we even fire it?" The commander's reply was calm, almost cold. "Then we die trying. Better that than living on our knees." The words spread through the base. Fear was there, but so was determination. Humans were used to living with risk. They had faced wars, disasters, and enemies before. This time the enemy was larger, but so was the fire inside them. As the 10th day drew closer, Firestorm was almost complete. The weapon sat in silence, humming with restrained energy, like a sleeping beast waiting to awaken. Guards stood watch. Scientists checked numbers again and again. Soldiers trained for the coming battle. Every heart beat with the same question: would it be enough? On the 9th night, the leaders gathered one last time. They looked at each other across a long table. No one smiled. No one rested. They all knew what tomorrow meant. The invasion was coming. The choice had been made. Humanity would not kneel. Far above, in the cold void of space, the alien fleet began to move. Their engines glowed like distant suns. Their weapons pointed toward Earth. And deep under the mountains, Firestorm awakened. The 10th day arrived. Humanity waited. Across the world, people looked up at the sky, knowing what was coming. In the silence of space, the alien fleet began to move. Their warships crossed the orbit of Neptune, then Uranus, then Saturn. They came closer with every passing hour. The countdown was over. The war had begun. Earth's defenses activated. Human warships, though small compared to alien dreadnoughts, left orbit and formed a shield line around the planet. Dozens of satellites armed with missiles and lasers powered on. Pilots climbed into fighters, their hands shaking but steady on the controls. Soldiers whispered quick prayers. Scientists in the Firestorm base held their breath. And then the aliens struck. The first blast came like thunder in space. A massive beam of energy shot from an alien dreadnought, cutting through one of Earth's defense stations like paper. The explosion lit the darkness, pieces of metal spinning into nothingness. The battle had started with fire and death. Human ships fired back. Missiles raced across the void. their trails glowing like comets. Some struck true, shaking alien shields, but most were destroyed before impact. The aliens were faster, stronger, more advanced. Every minute, another human ship was torn apart. On Earth, billions watched the battle unfold on screens. Families held each other. Children cried. The world prayed for a miracle. And far below in the hidden mountain base, Project Firestorm stood ready. The weapon hummed louder, waiting to be unleashed. The chief engineer wiped sweat from his brow. "If we wait too long," he whispered, "there will be nothing left to save." A general gave the order, "Activate Firestorm." The ground trembled as power surged through the weapon. Deep inside its core, light blazed brighter and brighter. Engineers shouted numbers, checking calculations. Soldiers stood ready as if facing a living beast. Firestorm roared to life. High above, the alien fleet pushed closer. Their dreadnoughts spread out, surrounding Earth like wolves circling prey. One of them, larger than the rest, broke formation and aimed its cannons directly at the planet. Its weapons glowed, ready to fire a blast that could burn a city to ashes in seconds. Humanity's defense line was breaking, and then Firestorm fired. The weapon unleashed a storm of burning energy, a beam brighter than the sun, faster than lightning. It tore through space, striking the alien dreadnought at its heart. For 1 second, nothing happened. And then the impossible. The dreadnought exploded. A shockwave ripped through the battlefield. Pieces of alien metal scattered like sparks from a fire. Flames burned even in the vacuum of space, strange and unnatural. A fire that seemed alive. The dreadnought, a ship so massive that no human weapon should have touched it, was gone. On Earth, silence filled every room, every home, every city. Then came the roar. Cheers rose from streets, from bunkers, from villages and skyscrapers alike. Humanity had struck back. Humanity had destroyed the unstoppable. But the victory was not clean. The Firestorm's power began to flicker. Warning lights flashed across the control room. The chief engineer shouted, "The weapon is overheating. We must shut it down before—" His words were cut by another explosion. This time it was not human. The alien fleet, furious and shocked, turned all weapons toward the source of Firestorm's strike. A storm of beams and plasma raced toward Earth. Human ships threw themselves in the way, shields burning, hulls breaking, to protect the planet. Brave men and women died in seconds, their sacrifice buying only moments. Inside the base, alarms screamed. The weapon's core glowed dangerously. If pushed further, it might destroy itself. But outside, the alien fleet was preparing for another strike, stronger than before. The general's voice was steady, but his eyes were hard. "If we shut Firestorm down, we lose everything. If we fire again, we may die with it. But if we do nothing, Earth will burn." The silence in the room was heavy. Soldiers, scientists, leaders, all looked at the glowing monster of energy they had built. Their choice was impossible. In space, the alien commander watched the wreckage of his dreadnought. His voice was filled with rage. "So the humans have fire, then let them burn with it." The battle was far from over. Humanity had shown its teeth, but the aliens were ready to bite back harder. The galaxy had watched. From hidden colonies, from distant stations, from secret channels, other civilizations had seen the impossible. A human weapon had destroyed an alien dreadnought. Across the stars, whispers spread like wildfire. "Humans, they are not weak. Did you see the fire?" Nothing like that exists in our records. If they can kill a dreadnought, maybe they can kill more. But in the alien fleet, the reaction was rage. The commander's voice shook with fury, his orders echoing across every ship. "The humans dare to resist? Then we will crush their world to dust. Leave nothing alive." And so the aliens attacked with renewed power. Their warships unleashed storms of energy. Human ships fell one after another, burning in silence as their crews gave their lives. Yet even in death they fought. Some rammed alien vessels, some held formation until their last breath. Humanity's fleet was dying, but their courage was alive. On Earth, Firestorm was silent. Its core glowed faintly, unstable after the first shot. Engineers worked without rest, sweat dripping as alarms screamed. The chief engineer shouted, "The weapon is too hot!" "If we fire again now, it could explode under the mountain. It will kill us all." But the general only stared at the screens showing Earth's orbit. Alien ships moved closer, tearing through defenses. His voice was low, calm, but filled with iron. "If we do not fire, Earth is finished anyway." The room fell silent. Every man and woman knew the truth. This was not just about Earth. The aliens would not stop here. If humanity fell, the galaxy would learn only fear. But if humanity stood, the galaxy would remember. Above ground, across the planet, people watched. Cities burned under orbital strikes. Skies glowed with fire. But in the ruins, humanity did not kneel. Firefighters pulled survivors from rubble. Soldiers aimed their weapons at the skies, even if they could not reach the enemy. Children carried water to the wounded. Humanity was bleeding, but it refused to break. In a refugee camp, a little girl asked her mother, "Will the aliens win?" The mother held her close and whispered, "No, because humans never stop fighting. Even when the world is burning, we keep going." That spirit spread faster than fear. Nations that once hated each other now sent their best soldiers to fight together. Rival scientists shared their secrets freely. Old enemies shook hands in the name of survival. For the first time in history, humanity was truly one. In the underground base, the decision was made. Firestorm would fire again. The chief engineer's hands shook as he entered the codes. "If this goes wrong," he whispered. The general placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then let history know we tried. Let them know humanity fought with fire." Above, the alien fleet prepared for a final strike. Their flagship, enormous and covered in glowing armor, moved into position. Its weapons powered up, ready to send death to Earth's surface. The commander sneered. "End them." At that moment, Firestorm roared back to life. The mountain shook as energy surged. Lights exploded across control panels. The weapon screamed like a beast in pain. The beam shot into space, brighter, stronger, fiercer than before. It struck the alien flagship's shields. For a moment, the shield held. Then cracks formed. Then, with a soundless roar, the shield shattered. The flagship rocked. Flames burst across its surface. But it did not fall. Alien engineers poured power into repairs. The ship survived, damaged but alive. In the base, alarms blared. Firestorm's core glowed too bright. The chief engineer shouted, "It's tearing itself apart. We must shut it down." The general's eyes narrowed. Not yet. Above, the aliens pulled back, regrouping. They had not expected resistance like this. The commander, furious but cautious, ordered his fleet to spread out. "Humans have fire," he growled. "We will drown it in darkness." But across the galaxy, other civilizations whispered again, "The humans stand. The humans fight. Maybe. The humans can win." The battle was far from over. Firestorm had shaken the stars, but the cost was heavy. Humanity was united, but their weapon was unstable. The next move would decide everything. And deep in space, the alien fleet prepared a trap. A final ambush that would test not only Firestorm, but the very soul of humanity. For centuries, humanity had looked up at the stars with wonder. Now they looked up with fire. The destruction of the alien dreadnought had changed everything. Humanity was no longer fighting for survival only. They were fighting to strike back. The world united its fleets, its factories, its courage, and prepared a counterattack. Project Firestorm could no longer stay hidden underground. If Earth was to survive, the weapon had to move into the stars. It was a terrifying plan. Firestorm was powerful but unstable. To launch it into space meant danger beyond calculation. If the weapon failed in the void, it could burn not just enemies but its own protectors. Yet humanity had no choice. The aliens had regrouped and more ships were coming. If Earth waited, it would be crushed. And so Firestorm was lifted from the mountain vault. Massive engines roared as it rose into the sky, carried by the strongest rockets ever built. People across the planet stopped and watched. From deserts, cities, and ruins, they looked up at the flaming trail, whispering prayers. Soldiers saluted. Children shouted. For a moment, Earth was united by a single sight, the fire rising. In orbit, the human fleet gathered. Warships formed a shield around Firestorm as it was docked into position. Pilots checked weapons. Engineers locked systems into place. The general's voice echoed across every channel. "Today, humanity does not wait for death. Today, humanity carries fire to the stars." The counterattack began. Human ships surged forward. Missiles streaked through the void. Fighters weaved between alien beams, daring and reckless. And then Firestorm fired again. Its beam cut across space like a blade of burning light, slicing through an alien cruiser. The ship exploded into fragments. Its death cry silent but bright. Cheers erupted across Earth and within every human ship. For the first time, humans were not just defending. They were advancing, but the aliens were not broken. Their commander's eyes burned with hatred. "Let them come," he growled. "We will break their spirit. Prepare the trap." The alien fleet fell back as if in retreat. Human ships pushed forward, chasing victory. Firestorm burned again and again, tearing holes in enemy lines. It seemed unstoppable. Hope soared. Messages of triumph spread across Earth. People believed the tide had turned, but something was wrong. In the command center, a young officer noticed the enemy's movement. "General, they are not running. They are guiding us," the general frowned. On the tactical map, alien ships retreated in perfect order, pulling humanity deeper into space, away from Earth, away from safety. At the edges of the map, faint signals appeared. Dozens of new alien warships waiting in silence, an ambush. By the time humanity realized, it was too late. The alien fleet closed in from all sides. Trapped in the middle, the human armada faced destruction. The alien commander gave the order. "Now crush them." Beams of energy rained down. Human ships exploded one after another. Firestorm itself shuddered as blasts struck its armored hull. Shields flickered. Warnings screamed. The general's voice was steady but grim. "Hold the line. Protect Firestorm. See if it falls, Earth falls." Pilots sacrificed themselves, ramming alien ships, buying seconds of survival. Crews fought with everything they had. Firestorm fired again, and another alien cruiser was torn apart, but the weapon's core burned dangerously. The chief engineer shouted over comms, "If we push it further, it may detonate." Firestorm could explode and take us all with it. Yet humanity kept fighting. They were surrounded, outnumbered, trapped in a cage of fire, but not one ship retreated. Not one soldier gave up. On Earth, people watched the battle live. Tears filled their eyes, but no one looked away. They whispered the same words over and over. "We fight. We fight." And deep in the stars, Firestorm's light burned brighter, even as its core trembled with danger. The aliens thought the trap would end humanity. But the fire did not die. The fire only grew. The final clash was coming. The trap had closed. Alien ships surrounded the human fleet on every side. Their weapons burned, their shields flashed, and their commander's voice echoed across the void. "This ends now. Humanity will kneel, or humanity will die." Inside Firestorm's control room, alarms screamed. The weapon's core glowed brighter than ever before, shaking the walls with its fury. Engineers shouted warnings, but everyone knew the truth. Firestorm could not take much more. One final strike might save them, or destroy them all. The general's voice was calm, steady, even as the room shook. "If we fall fighting." Humanity does not surrender. The order was given. Firestorm would fire one last time. Human warships threw themselves into the line of fire, shielding Firestorm with their lives. Pilots rammed enemy cruisers, turning their ships into blazing weapons. Crews stayed at their posts even as fire tore through their hulls. They fought not to live, but to give Firestorm the seconds it needed. On Earth, billions watched with breathless silence. In ruined cities, in bunkers, in camps, people held hands and whispered the same words, "We fight." The aliens laughed at the resistance. Their commander sneered, "Pathetic. They burn their own ships for nothing." He leaned forward. "End them." But Firestorm was ready. The weapon screamed like a living beast, its core glowing like a newborn star. Engineers cried out as systems overloaded, sparks flying from every panel. "It's going critical," the chief engineer shouted. The general's eyes narrowed. "Then let it burn." Firestorm unleashed its fury. A beam brighter than suns tore through the void, striking the alien flagship at its heart. The shield cracked, then shattered. The beam punched deeper, cutting through layers of armor, through engines, through command decks. The alien commander's sneer froze in shock as his ship exploded in a fire that lit the stars. The flagship was gone. Silence swept the battlefield. For the first time, the alien fleet hesitated. Their leader destroyed, their greatest ship burning, they faltered. Firestorm had done the impossible, but the victory came with a cost. Firestorm's core was breaking apart. The weapon shook violently, its energy unstable. Engineers shouted desperately, but it was too late. Firestorm was dying. The general gave his last command. "Aim it at their fleet. If Firestorm must die, let it take them with it." With a final roar, Firestorm detonated. The explosion was not like any seen before. It was not only light and fire. It was a storm that spread across the battlefield, consuming alien ships in waves of burning fury. Cruisers, carriers, destroyers all vanished in the blaze. Those that survived fled, their courage broken, their unity shattered. When the fire finally faded, silence returned to space. The human fleet was in ruins. Hundreds of ships lost, thousands of lives gone. But Earth still stood. Humanity still breathed, and the galaxy would never forget. News of the battle spread faster than light. Across distant colonies and hidden worlds, the whispers returned. The humans did it. They destroyed the invincible. They burned the strongest fleet the galaxy has ever seen. For the first time, civilizations that once ignored humanity now looked at Earth with respect and with fear. On the ruined battlefield, human survivors drifted among the wreckage. Their voices carried across comms, weak but proud. We held, we stood, we fight. And on Earth, people poured into the streets. They sang, they cried, they embraced. For the first time, the galaxy had seen humanity's true nature. Not weak, not prey, not slaves, but fire. The general, his voice weary but unbroken, gave the final words that echoed across every channel, across every world. When aliens challenged humanity, they expected fear. But what they found was fire.